Hello everybody. Good evening. İyi akşamlar. Today we have various kinds of experience in construction industry from PMI-Turkiye Chapter, from our region, from Turkish construction companies. And today we will be actually deeping dive into what's happening in construction industry from different perspectives, and we will be introducing you a new, very valuable certification, PMI-CP. So, if you are ready, I will be starting with introducing my panelists today. Let me start from PMI side. Dear Raphael Ani, he is a PMI Global Business Development Lead for Construction. Could you please introduce yourself in a few words, please, Raphael?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Good evening, everyone. My name is Raphael Ani. As Doctor said, I am the global lead for construction here at PMI, and I'm dialing in from London, and I look forward to sharing my knowledge with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You are very welcome. And PMI, we have Ricardo Mklmon. He is also a strategy manager for construction. Could you please introduce yourself, Ricardo?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here and to listen to us on this new exciting certification from PMI. As Dr. Mustafa introduced, my name is Ricardo Mklmon, and I work for the construction team with Raphael Ani and the rest of the team. I'm joining you today from Dubai.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Nice to see you here. And we have two construction professionals from our region, from Turkey. Abdullah, he is very experienced construction professional, and he is also an instructor for ADVISORS and ADVISORS Turkiye. Could you please introduce yourself, Abdullah?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. This is Abdullah Aklinar joining live from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. Nearly 29 years of hands-on experience in construction. Currently, I am running my own consultancy company here in Turkey. And today we will share our experience being a PMI-CP and what value brings to construction players within our region and elsewhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this, for coming and sharing your experience. And the last but not the least, Mustafa Kemal Yener. He's from PMI-Turkiye Chapter. He's the ambassador for PMI-CP. Could you please introduce yourself, Kemal?
Yes, thank you. My name is Mustafa Kemal Yener, but in this panel you can call me Kemal directly because there are more than one Mustafas available. I am a civil engineer having around 20 years of experience in domestic projects and abroad international projects. I have worked both in consultant side and contractor side within these projects. I am married. I have two brilliant daughters. That's all for now.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. And before starting our panel and discussions and deep diving into the content, we will have a short presentation on actually introducing what PMI-CP is. May I just leave the screen to Raphael for this introduction?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Good evening, everyone, once again. I hope you can see my screen. So, as Doc mentioned, the PMI Construction Professional is a new certification which we PMI came up with recently. And the reason why we came up with this new certification is because of what we see as the transformation happening in the industry. Construction, if you look at the fundamentals of transformation, are three things. It's the people, the process, and the technology. And of all these three different areas, what we have seen happen in the industry is that the processes in the industry has advanced. There have been new, improvements in the way we do things, and which are delivering better value for money and better return on investment. There has also been huge advancement on the technology side. There has been a lot of disruption. People have talked about the different techniques and technologies and tools we're bringing to work, like the drones and other things that are happening in the industry. And then, most importantly, the people side. This is the area where we believe that has struggled the most, because naturally we work in a sector that has very low margin, and people see training as a cost center without actually understanding that this particular area is super important. So as PMI, we wanted to understand how best to train people, because even with all this advancement that we've seen on processes and technology, the construction industry has still lagged against other industries when you look at the performance. Construction, from a strategic, from a big picture macro point of view, is the biggest industry in the world. It accounts for 13% of global GDP. However, this industry has grown by only 1%. Any industry that had grown by this amount would have been dead by now. However, but because the government is always the biggest client in construction, somehow the taxpayer has continued to pick up the tab. Secondly, is that the amount of money needed to deal with infrastructure deficits in the world today is about $69.4 trillion. And no government has this money sitting aside to be able to throw this kind of money. So what it means is that we are getting more challenged to actually deliver projects more effectively and more efficiently. But last but not the least is the skill shortage, or the labor shortage, which is happening across the globe. Yes, in Turkey, the number might not be 41% hiring by 2031, but what we see is that it's easier today to find a top civil engineer working in a startup, in a technology startup, than working for a civil engineering company. And when you ask them what is fundamental to that, they will refer to what I spoke to in the past, which is just the way we do things. Even though there has been advancement in processes and technology, we've not been able to bring it into the way we work. Now, as PMI, we decided to look on a project level how the performance of projects are happening within the construction industry. And what we saw was even more worrisome. That 7 out of 10 projects end up delayed, 7 out of 10 projects end up over budget, 7 out of 10 projects end up with scope creep. But what is really more worrisome is that for every $1 billion spent in construction, 13% goes to zero waste. What that means is that when we compared it with other industry, construction is the most wasteful sector in the world. And this is actually a big, big problem, because not only are we not attracting talent, not only are we suffering that, the huge amount of money that we need to actually deal with infrastructure deficit, we are also the most wasteful sector in the world. So it just feels like the worst of everything. And when we try to drill down on why this is happening, what we found was that the issues were not really skewed more on the technical side. It was skewed more on what we call in PMI power skills. Those were some of the things that became very obvious to us. So it's things like communication. We don't communicate properly as an industry, and that has a huge challenge in the way we actually deliver projects. Secondly, is that when we make changes a lot to project without thinking about the consequence of the change. In construction, our can-do mentality happens a lot, that people, walk into the site. How many times have you as a contractor gone on site, had a scope change agreed verbally without actually understanding what it means, and gone ahead to make those changes, not have an impact on cost and quality and even the timeline to deliver the project? Those are the type of things that actually we see becoming a very big issue in the industry. And this also lends itself nicely to the kind of projects we're doing today. It's more complex. So people that we see that run construction projects are not really skilled up to deal with the multifaceted nature of the projects that we're dealing with today. And then again, our can-do mentality also does not help us in actually planning projects properly before we go on site. So there's an element of poor design which leads to poor execution when we do projects, because we jump on site without doing that front-end planning properly to really understand in very great detail what we're trying to do. Meaning that our design sometimes we know that the design has not been has not been drilled down to the end level to think of all the clashes and everything that happen that deals with that we have to deal with at the design phase. We go on site and then start to sit there and start to make corrections. That is actually one of the main reasons that we end up with huge costs. And one thing that we also identified is the kind of metrics we use in the industry are sometimes misleading. People like to, please the asset owner, or the subbies want to, please the main contractor, and they know that the KPIs and the metrics that we use does not represent what actually is happening in the project. But we prefer to use these numbers because they get us, a good conversation. And then what happens is that the project, everything looks okay. 2 weeks to go live, we then find out that the project is in a very bad state. Also, the industry is fraught with people underbidding just to win contracts. And when we underbid, we know we have change orders that we want to use to upsell clients. We come in with bids that sometimes even the asset owners help to cause this problem, because they know that you can't deliver this project for the amount that you've written or your amount that you're proposing, but they let you because you're the least bidder, knowing fully well what will happen downstream. Last but not the least is what I mentioned earlier in my introduction, that we have not actually, yes, there has been a lot of advancement in technology, but actually imbibing and actually adopting those technologies is not something we've done very well as an industry. So these were the main pain points that we saw when we actually tried to understand why the projects within the construction industry has been performing badly compared to other sectors. So to address these issues, PMI decided to partner for the first time with other strategic organizations. We partnered with organizations that develop IPs on the process side, IPs on the technology side, and industry experts that also brought the IPs from different regions of the world. What the focus was really to have something that is a global standard that helps to upskill everyone within the industry. So we partnered with the Lean Construction Institute, LCI, who are the forefront of the lean ways of working, the Construction Industry Institute, CII, who are the at the cutting edge of the data-driven approaches within the construction industry, as well as Oracle through the Primavera solution, and other big organizations, from oil and gas like Saudi Aramco, Petronas. We partnered with Amy L&T from India. We partnered with Jacobs, DPR, BHP, and U.S. Marine Corps of Engineers, and U.S. Department of Energy. What we wanted, as I mentioned before, was something, we were developing a solution that will help address the people element in that transformation chat that I started with, that help people understand the latest processes while at the same time understanding how to apply technology to those latest processes. Because what we've seen is that some organizations that have tried to introduce these new processes struggle because their people don't understand these processes. And when they try to introduce new technology, people struggle to utilize this technology properly. They blame it on the technology, on the process. But what we found out was that the issue is actually the people understanding the process and the technology and how to use them together. Because technology, as we know, is just a tool that could be used within an environment. So the core elements of this particular course are three main things. We advocate the lean method, the lean ways of working, because when you apply lean methods, you are utilizing your resources in the most effective way. We encourage people to use data-driven approaches, because data-driven approaches actually help with our decision making. It makes sure that we are making decisions with facts or data rather than of the cost assumptions. And thirdly is the use of technology, because this actually improves our efficiency exponentially. And those are the three core things that on the, that are the core of this particular new curriculum. And some people always will ask, how is this different from the PMP? The PMP is still a well-recognized and respected certification. I'm sure Dr. Mustafa, Abdullah, you're both PMPs and have been experienced using PMP for years, understanding that global generic way of running projects. But what PMI-CP is actually, as Dr. Mustafa started with, is a double down on how to run construction projects. Now, if you wanted to run a tech project, this is not for you. But if you want to be a guy that could run construction project, both small and mega projects, then this particular certification speaks to the type of skills and capability that you need to have to be able to run these projects. So while the PMP is a broad generic project management certification, PMI-CP is an industry specific project management certification. The way we like to analyze to describe it to people is like a general practitioner in medicine. A PMP is like a GP, but a surgeon, which is quite precise and in their own way of doing surgery, is more like a PMI-CP professional. But here you don't need to have a PMP to have a PMI-CP, although it helps. And I'm sure when we get into this discussion, Dr. Mustafa and Abdullah will actually tell you about the experience of how having that PMP knowledge really helped them and how PMI-CP really took it to another level on the way they've actually been able to bring it into what they do. So the only other thing I'll mention before I move on to my next slide is that the only requirement for PMI-CP is 3 years experience in the construction industry, not as a project manager, but 3 years experience in the construction industry. And the reason why we ask for this 3 years experience is because we want to make sure that the concepts being introduced as part of the course is one that people taking the course can understand and be able to apply in their everyday job. People would tested this course extensively, people with less experience struggle. That is not to say that people that with 30 years experience in the industry will not also take advantage of the course, because the course actually is catered for people from very junior role to very senior and advanced role, to be able to show up some of the gaps which we might see in their knowledge, and also to introduce these new processes and ways of doing things that I mentioned in the earlier. Now, going strictly into the course, there are 4 courses that you need to take to actually get the actual PMI-CP certification, or to be allowed to take the PMI-CP certification. And these 4 courses speak to what we call the core of anyone looking to run a project. So it's the PMI Construction Project Management Communication, which this particular course goes into how we communicate across a project. I'll go a bit more into the specifics of this topic, and I'm sure that's what we'll be discussing for the rest of this evening. So I would not like to bore you so much about that, but it's the Construction Project Communication course, which talks about communication. It's the Construction Scope and Change Order Management. Here we talk about how do you actually manage scope, ways of using data to capture your scope, make sure it's holistic and actually fulfills all the requirements stated in an RFP. And when making a change to the scope, how to, with data, show the impact that those scope change will have to the project. The other course is the Construction Interface Management. This particular course talks about the different interfaces we have within a project, making sure that when we have different work packages, we don't have overlaps, which will create a lot of waste, as well as making sure that we do not have gaps, because those gaps can actually be the downfall of our project. So this interface management makes sure that a project runs from end to end smoothly, and things like procurement, we try to touch on topics like just-in-time procurement in this particular course. But really, what this course tries to address is understanding the different interface, the different work packages, the interfaces between them, how to seamlessly use resources, especially where we have a scarce of resources, how to use your resources more effectively to make sure you deliver the project end to end as smoothly as possible. Then we have the construction, contract, and risk management. Here, the risk management here is more from a contractual risk, identifying the risk associated to a contract, the different contracting strategies, and measures to address those risks when they're identified. We're also going into detail on dispute resolution within the construction industry, within the contractual phase as well, and how to address that across the life cycle, the life cycle of a project. Now, we have, once you've taken the 4 courses and secured your PMI construction professional certification, we have the advanced courses. The 3 initial advanced courses we have is the performance and materials management. This particular course talks about the metrics that we use in projects and the type of materials we use in projects to make sure we future-proof our projects and make sure that all the metrics we use across the life cycle of a project gives a very clear and true representation of the status of the project. We have the Construction Technology and Innovation Pro. This particular course as well addresses the different technology coming into the industry. So BIM, yes, was addressed here, but we all know that BIM is actually quite an old technology. We are going to digital twin, which are topics that you can actually get into once you start to talk about, BIM, data analytics, then you start to talk about digital twin. Those are the type of topics that we cover as part of this particular course. And last but not the least is the construction execution planning. Here, the 2 main topics we discuss here is the last planner system and advanced work packaging, which are advanced way of delivering projects. We know that, yes, critical path is still very much appreciated and respected in the industry, but it has its limitation. So we introduced the concept of last planner systems and advanced work packaging and the context of where to use them best. Recently, we then developed a new course called the Digital Construction Practitioner with Oracle. And what this course is an accumulation of the different concepts that we have across the PMI-CP courses and showing how you actually bring them to life from an Oracle platform point of view. One thing I would like to stress here is that if you're not a user of Primavera or any of the Oracle solution, you can actually be able to take this course and see the way you replicate these concepts in every other solution that you might be using. But Oracle was a strategic partner that we worked with because they are, they account for about 70% of the construction technology market. However, I know that so many in different parts of the world, you have either your local systems or, some people use Procore or Autodesk or, depending on where you are. But the most important thing here is how do we bring all these concepts? If you remember what I said, how do we make sure that these processes are supported with technology? And that's what this particular course goes into great detail to speak about. These are, I know, conscious of time, these are the topics in great detail that were covered in all these courses. And why care about this PMI-CP? One thing I like to say to people is that this is a world-class certification that is where we're looking to set the global standard that can allow people to move from one market to the other without any friction. This is what the PMI-CP is. And we believe that in the near future, more people will start to actually take this and make that part of their standard in their local market. We already have governments that have adopted this as their standard, and more governments, as they go forward, as they seek more value from their investment in infrastructure, will see this being their new standard. Secondly, is that it's an independent information of one's project management skill. Most of us in the industry in construction come from an engineering background, which addresses our technical skills. But if you look at the issues and the pain points I showed earlier on the reason why a lot of projects fail, it's really the soft skills or power skills that is actually, lacking. So this goes to address those skills and actually help people to be able to apply the technical skills in a more effective way. Thirdly, that the certification from an organizational point of view helps organizations improve their efficiency, profitability, and sustainability. Because when you apply, as I mentioned earlier, when you are applying lean methodology, when you're applying data-driven approaches, when you're using computer systems, not just does the ROI show a higher return on investment in your projects through the improvement that you will have, it also makes sure that we as a sector, we are the biggest polluters in the world, are actually trying to address some of these particular issues, especially when we go into new markets. We can objectively show how we are addressing sustainability without it being just something that we talk about. And last but not the least, an industry where we are, it's prone to people leaving quite early. A lot of top talents deciding to, set off on their own. For an organization that decides to train their people with this new standard, it's a way to show your people that, that you care about them, your commitment to them, to actually show them that you really want to raise the standard and want to actually use the quality of the project that you deliver as a competitive advantage. I will stop with this last quote of one of the early people that actually took this course, another PMP like yourselves here this evening. After Luigi took this course, he said definitely within the next 5 to 10 years that he's convinced that this will become the new standard in the industry because of some of the critical things that were addressed in this particular course. So, thank you so much, and I'm sure that we will go into deeper conversation about this particular topic today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this great presentation, Raphael. Now, we and all of our participants are at this same understanding from this PMI-CP with the help of this great presentation. Thank you very much. For about 7 years, I've been invited to give seminars to universities, especially by specifically civil engineering departments. And when I was first invited, I discovered that there was a construction extension for PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. So that was very interesting. So it is not new that PMI is focusing on specifically construction industry. So it's been for a long time that PMI really developed lots of knowledge for this specific industry. So we are lucky. We are lucky that now we have such a great certification showing the way on how we can really optimize the things you mentioned. I mean, minimize the waste, lots of waste, by focusing on these lean construction principles especially. So let's make a deep dive. And may I just ask, maybe Ricardo may help me for this question related with this presentation. So what is the mostly asked question from the professionals when you just present this PMI-CP? What is the most asked thing?
Yeah, I think that the question was asked and answered. It was the difference between the PMP and the PMI-CP. Everybody wants to know, how this helps them. One of the things we talk about is that the PMP really creates a great foundation for you to go specifically into construction, but it's not a prerequisite. Certainly, you can go straight into the PMI-CP, but if you have the PMP, you have that foundation by which to build. So it makes a lot of difference. But we equate it with the medical industry where, the PMP represents the GP. So the general practitioner who can, attend to every patient. Whereas this one is probably the brain surgeon, right? It's a very, very specific category that anybody cannot do. And then his skills, he can go do a foot surgery, let's say. But it's so very specific that the content here is really upskilling for this particular industry, created by the industry for the industry.
That's a very good point. Thank you very much, Ricardo. And so since this is the most asked question, now you put this in your presentation. That's a great also feedback. And may I also ask this question from specifically our Turkish construction professionals' experience. So they are also both PMP. So from your point of view, what is the main difference from maybe from the perspective of the content or the approach? Abdullah, may I start with you?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Actually, friends Raphael and Ricardo pointed out very, I mean, in a comprehensive manner, they have mentioned that why PMI-CP is dedicated for construction industry only. Actually, I just want to elaborate just a few more, I mean, industry-specific data, which was conducted by PMI in September 2020. Which was contributed by 40,000 different PMPs in working in construction industry. And they have mentioned that 70% of these participants that they are experience project delays always or often. So here we need to consider PMP is put the foundation of project management. I totally agree, and I put very much value on PMP certification. But as we are talking about from the construction industry perspective, we need something more because of PMP is there, but still we are facing some problems. So we need to address the pain points, as Raphael mentioned in his nice presentation, how we can come up with a solution to address the needs of the players of construction, how to deal with cost overruns, schedule delays. Therefore, PMI teamed up with several organizations, stakeholders, CII, Lean Construction Institute, Jacobs, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They are very well-known organization, L&T. So they put their all gatherings for their years of establishment to the today's experience, and they share with their I mean, how to address those pain points. So that's why PMI-CP is more generically focused on the pain points discovered by several stakeholders in the industry to address them in a professional manner and to save the wasted amount in construction. As we see from the presentation of Raphael, every $1 billion worth spent on construction industry, we are losing 127 million US dollars, which is a huge amount of money. And we have a huge productivity issues in construction as compared to global average. For the last 2 decades, the growth of construction productivity is only 1%. If we try to reach the global average, we will put $1.6 trillion per year to the global economy, which represents to 2% of the total investments. So this is a huge amount of money. And I believe with the creation of this PMI-CP, we will try to define the deficiencies in the construction industry. And PMI-CP will help. Of course, having this certification is something that you started to drive your car, but experience is should come together. I mean, being a certified person is, of course, a distinction, but being an experienced one is also valuable in order to address the deficiencies described during today's presentation.
So the needs for construction industry are very obvious now. So we can see the whole picture. And PMI-CP, on top of PMP, is a kind of cure for these needs. Thank you very much for this knowledge sharing. And I would like to have your experience, Mustafa Kemal, the difference between PMP, because you are both PMP and a recent PMI-CP certificate holder. May I have your experience on the difference?
Actually, both the two certificates have some similarities in between. For example, one of the major similarities is the focus of both certificates on communication. PMP says effective communication is the heart of effective project management, and PMI-CP has a completely dedicated core course on project communications. And what are the major differences between PMP and PMI-CP certificates? In PMI-CP, as Raphael summarized in his presentation, the training courses, selects the most problematic topics in construction projects, in construction industry, starting with the project communications, then contract and risk management, then interface management, which is very, very important in our industry, and so on, the other core courses and the extra courses. And now he also mentioned a new course about digitalization, newly arrived in the portfolio, which is very good. And I believe in the future, in near future, there will be more course modules added to this complete PMI-CP journey. Because as you mentioned, Dr. Mustafa, about the construction extension of the PMBOK, there are some subjects still not available in PMI-CP certification courses, like finance management in construction projects, which is very complex and which is very important for the success of the projects, especially for mega projects and large projects, international projects, especially for the projects funded by government bodies. And also health and safety issues and environmental issues, which is very important for the safety of the workers. These topics will be, I believe, in the very near future in PMI-CP courses. And within all these courses, you will see very good examples, very good case studies coming from CII, coming from Lean Construction Institute. And it's about the mindset. After PMP, if you take PMI-CP courses and if you obtain your PMI-CP certification, the construction professional will have such a mindset that he will be in search of increasing productivity in the construction projects he or she is working, either at site or in the head office. And he will be or she will be in search of reducing waste in the construction projects, and so on.
Thank you very much, Raphael. From Mustafa Kemal's feedback, can we say that the content of this PMI-CP is not static but dynamic? So,
now, thank you again, Dr. Mustafa. Absolutely, he is spot on. The whole strategy which we're using here is that we're listening to the industry. We started with these topics because these are the immediate topics that have been very problematic in the industry. But we have started also moving into other topics. We're doing one on looking at the sustainability of materials. On the health and safety in particular, we are looking to give the challenge of developing a health and safety course that will be used across the world is that if you notice the way we deal with health and safety, it is very specific to regional legislation. So if we were to write a health and safety course that will be used for everyone, it will be a few volumes. So what we are looking to do with this particular course is that we're trying to imbibe healthy standards in specific courses, because when you do things in a lean method and you're using data, you're actually being as because the data-driven approach goes into some of the health and safety standard, but we're looking to develop more like a generic high-level health and safety course, which will not, go into the specifics of the different markets, but will give everyone that have done it a good knowledge to be able to apply the right health and safety standard in the environment, while still respecting and ensuring that people try to understand their local health and safety rules. So those are the kind of strategies that we're using as part of this course, and that's one of the reasons why we've not finished that one, because it's a balancing act, being able to get that global standard, but also making allowance for people to apply the local laws where necessary. So but making sure. So the approach we're looking to use in these type of topics is to make people aware that the importance of trying to understand their local laws as it refers to health and safety. Those are the type of things that we expect going forward. And of course, the industry is the one that keeps us informing us. They could come back and want us to also go into other different topics. So what we always ask is an active participation by the industry, because what that does is that it helps us to understand the latest challenges and start to do the research on how to address them, and come back with the research with the industry where they trial it and make sure that if we're going to propose this as a global standard, it's something that is practical and not theoretical. Because I like what I heard from every panelist that have actually spoken is the practicality of PMI-CP. That for us is the most important thing. It should not be just theory. It's something that you can apply in real world immediately. So yes, the answer is yes. It's a dynamic course that continues to grow, but the focus always is to develop something that is very practical and easily implementable, no matter where you are in the world.
Great to hear that we have a dynamic, growing certificate. Yeah, up to now, we have seen the big picture on why we need this and how we really have the solution for these challenges, for these needs. So we have a very valuable certification, a dynamic certification. But may I ask you, Ricardo, now do our construction companies from anywhere from the world really understand this value, or do we need to do something to create more awareness?
A great question again. What we're doing today is part of that awareness building session. Of course, the certification is still very new in the marketplace, so there's a lot of work still to be done in one, getting the awareness out there, and two, convincing companies of the value that the certification brings. One of the things that I can point out is, organizations, who invest in their people, that's one, are noted as being cutting edge and preferred. Organizations that invest in certification for its people are also demonstrating to the industry that we are, coming forth with the latest and greatest in terms of standards within the industry. It provides a competitive advantage that they bring to the marketplace. So, and I know Raphael touched on this, a lot of organizations see this as a cost, but it really should be viewed as an investment, right? Because it's not only investing in your staff and making sure that they have an environment in which they are putting forth their best self, but it's also investing in the industry to make sure that you are presenting with the latest and greatest, material that's out there to be able to deliver on the projects that you commit to. So, that's it. I think there is still a lot of work to be done, and we continue to work with the chapter, with advisors, in terms of making sure that the awareness is building, and making sure that each and every organization is convinced that this works. We're working with regulatory agencies and governments. Raphael touched on a couple that have already endorsed this certification. As a matter of fact, the South Africa government went a step further and is making it mandatory for anybody within the construction industry that they must have the PMI-CP. Saudi Arabia, for example, has listed the PMI-CP as one of the preferential certification that the government will fund for its citizens. So there's a lot going on within and around the world that we can draw on, that they're taking this forward. The organizations and companies and countries that see the future involves within construction as seeing the PMI-CP as part of that future. So I encourage organizations, I encourage the attendees to take it back to your organizations and make sure that you're convincing them that this is an investment in you, an investment in their company. We just had a great conversation, in Turkey itself with one of the organizations there, that they're starting and they want to be the first to introduce it to their employees. Here in Dubai, we're talking to the utilities, DIWA, and the Roads and Transportation Authority people. They're also, and within this region, they like to be known as the first to do everything. So we have some interesting best practices. I don't think Raphael touched, but we have about 15,000 individual courses that have already been consumed, and people are in that funnel to go towards the certification. So we're very encouraged by the response that we're getting, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And thank you for doing this and being part of that awareness session.
Thank you very much. I remember attending lots of PMI's global congresses or LIM meetings. And sometimes when I was just struggling to explain the value of these congresses to my bosses, executives, PMI provided some letters explaining the value and provided it to me, and I delivered it to my C-levels. So that was very helpful. For example, will the participants will they have this chance for PMI-CP? Do you have some kind of things for that? Raphael, maybe you would like to.
Yeah. Yes. This is something that we are working on. We have brochures about this particular new certification that we can share with all the participants that have attended today. And Ricardo and myself and the advisors team are always here. We are very happy to support anyone that wants to have a conversation with their leadership, or that would like us to speak to their community within the organization or within any body that you belong to. Feel free to reach out to us. We're very open to the idea of speaking to people, because not until more people hear about this will we start to see a huge change, a step change in the industry. And what we are committed to is to make sure that everyone becomes part of this great new journey, and everyone is given a fair chance to succeed. Because when we all succeed, as Abdullah said earlier, then the global economy does even better. It's good for everybody. It's good business for your organization. It's good business for yourself. It's good business for everybody. But as a nonprofit organization, our focus is to make sure that all boats rise. As we say, the way we say it in finance, that everybody actually gets upskilled, delivers better product. People are happier to do what they do. We're able to attract more talent in the industry. And the senior bosses tend to, get to shine even better, that they're wonderful people, because that's also very important. So yes, we will be sharing some of the brochures that we have after through advisors to yourselves. But even more importantly, please reach out to advisors and ourselves. We're working together very closely, and we'll be happy to speak to any of the organizations if needed.
Great to hear that. Thank you very much. And let us talk about these challenges from Turkish construction industry side a little bit. So what's happening in Turkish industry? Because Abdullah and Mustafa Kemal are just in the core of this industry, and may I ask their perspective, how our Turkish construction industry is reacting to PMI-CP? Is there a growing interest, or we have some similar challenge like the other part of the world is having? Abdullah, would you like to start with your...
Actually, I think as of today, I have been, approached by very few Turkish companies about this PMI-CP certification. But all in all, when we are considering our players are working all around the world. We are, our contractors are very well versed with working in several regions, several conditions. So they need to be competitive in the coming future to do that. So if they will not address the pain points, because these pain points are not specifically for a certain company, this is common for all construction players, and those pain points needs to be addressed by these Turkish contractors wherever they are working, whether they are working at home or abroad. They have to address these issues. Therefore, by having these types of sessions today, tomorrow, and in the coming period, we need to create an awareness together with the support of course, PMI. And I believe today PMI-Turkiye Chapter is also supporting us this initiative, so that we can create an awareness how PMI-CP will help them to address their inefficiencies in any project that they might have, whether at home or abroad. So this will help to improve their bottom line. So if they will see this benefit, they will for sure grasp more attention to the PMI-CP certification, how it values in their organization, and what may bring for them in the future, because they need to be competitive. For instance, to get the Saudi Arabian construction market is being witnessed with several players around the globe trying to catch new projects. Turkish players are also trying to do the same. So in order to be competitive, they need to address their inefficiencies in the construction industry. So PMI-CP would be one of the key methods or tools that can refer to in order to address those efficiencies. As I said, for a last, let's say, closing sentence, is that they may not be fully aware of what PMI-CP brings, but I believe in the near future, they will get more information about what PMI-CP is and what value brings them in their endeavors, and we will able to help them. Our initiatives started by advisors and PMI chapters here in Turkey and in Gulf, we can create more awareness to the PMI-CP certification.
Thank you, Abdullah. As you mentioned, PMI-Turkiye Chapter is also very crucial in this awareness campaign. And Mustafa Kemal used to be the director, volunteer director for certifications in PMI chapter, and now the ambassador for PMI-CP. So Mustafa Kemal, you are very experienced in understanding the dynamics within this Turkish companies, their approach to PMI certifications. And as far as I know, now PMI-Turkiye Chapter has over 1,200 members, but only maybe below 5% of them are from construction companies. Is that right? And how can we just increase this number?
Yeah, you are right, Dr. Mustafa. Unfortunately, both the number of members in PMI-Turkiye Chapter right now, and also, you know, we have some corporate members in PMI-Turkiye Chapter. The number of construction companies is also very little among the corporate members. For today, the number of PMI-CP holders in Turkey is also very, very low as compared with other countries, unfortunately. So we have a lot of work to do. We have to make great efforts, in my opinion, to make the construction companies and to make the industry to be aware of the PMI-CP certification. We have to, maybe, as you said, prepare letters to the companies, to the governmental bodies and other organizations. And maybe we can visit them to tell the benefits and the value of PMI-CP that will create in the industry. And we should definitely organize very regularly and very frequently new webinars, new professional development activities. And, you know, after 2 months, after 1 month, let's say, we will have a great summit in Istanbul, in Turkey. Maybe also we can include in the course of the summit this PMI-CP certification introduction, and we can tell the benefits of the certification to the maybe industry representatives that will attend the summit. And moreover, we can, in our companies, let's say, maybe this will be the minimal effort, or maybe the maximum effort. In our companies, we should tell the importance of PMI-CP certification.
Thank you very much. So we have great challenge for Turkish industry companies. Abdullah, as far as I know,
but Dr. Mustafa, sorry for the interruption. Turkish companies sometimes may act slowly in the beginning, but later on they will be very quick. So I believe that in the near future, very soon, the number of PMI-CP holders in Turkey will increase, and it will transform the Turkish construction industry very soon, I believe.
I hope and I agree. Yes, we start slow, but then our pace increases. Abdullah, as far as I remember, Turkish construction companies, their actual contribution to the global GDP, they are always in the first or fourth range. Is that right?
Actually, ENR, each and every year they publish top 250 contractors, and we have a number of companies. I believe more than 35 different companies were among those top companies. So yes, we are representing, after China, I think we are the second largest contributor of these top 250 contractors around the globe.
Okay, so we need
one thing I need to add, in addition to Mustafa Kemal's comment about the upcoming PMI Turkey events. I will have a session on that summit. I will be talking about what PMI brings value to construction industry, which is a very similar topic for today's, but of course I will provide different, let's say, statistics about the construction, what brings to the industry if you have PMI-CP in place. And maybe I would suggest in that meeting, maybe the companies can have a pilot project where thereby they can, employ PMI-CP certified people to address, for instance, risk management, contract management, execution planning, because this might be, given a concrete evidence that when the PMI-CP certification is in place and if the results were accepted by the senior management, so there might be more interest. So actually, there might be, let's say, a pilot project implementation for one of the leading construction companies, and they might create a pilot project and they can observe what PMI-CP certified people can bring additionally on surviving or, let's say, reaching the project targets. But of course, that targets needs to be established by these PMI-CP certified people, because we need to create realistic expectation. We need to go beyond that realistic expectation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are approaching our ending time. So may I just ask your final words from this conversation? And let me start from Raphael again with you.
Well, thank you so once again, Dr. Mustafa, and thank you, fellow panelists and attendees. One thing I want you to take away from today is that Turkey is a very important market in the construction industry globally. And transformation in Turkey will not just support the Turkish market, but will always touch every other market across the world. And as mentioned earlier, I have had the opportunity to, London as a Brit, to have a lot of Turkish friends and work with a lot of Turkish companies in my previous life. And I agree that when you guys get to the table, it's a different ball game. And I look forward to that transition in PMI-CP, and would like everyone that joined this conversation to know that we are committed and eager to work closely with yourselves and advisors. And I believe that the example Abdullah just gave now is a wonderful one, because there's nothing more powerful than what you've seen work in your local market, in your local context. We've actually started doing something similar like that, Abdullah, with in other regions. So we will be very happy to take up that opportunity if anyone that joined the call today would like to do that in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being with us. Ricardo, your final words.
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa, and thank you all for joining us today for this exciting initiative, one in a series, hopefully, that we'll be doing in Turkey to try to disseminate the information in terms of the value that PMI-CP brings to Turkey and the construction industry in general. So I thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Appreciate it. Thank you to the panelists also for your engaging conversation.
Thank you very much for being with us, Ricardo. And Raphael and Ricardo, if you don't mind, I will ask the final words of my colleagues to give in Turkish. So, Abdullah.
That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Teşekkür ederim Mustafa Bey. Öncelikle böyle bir etkinlik için ADVISORS Türkiye ve PMI Türkiye'ye çok teşekkür ediyorum. Davetiniz için de ayrıca teşekkürler. Ben bütün paydaşlarıma bir şey söylemek istiyorum. Yani hepimizin projelerde yaşadığı ortak sorunlar var. Bu sorunlara hep birlikte bir yanıt bulmak zorundayız. Belki PMI-CP bize bu konuda bir yol gösterecektir. Lütfen hep birlikte PMI-CP nedir biraz araştıralım ve bunu bir projemizde uygulamaya çalışalım. Bir pilot proje olabilir bu. Mutlaka ve mutlaka bir etkisini göreceğimizden eminim. Konuyla ilgili paydaşlarla bu konuyla ilgili herhangi bir zaman aralığında fikir alışverişi yapmaya hazır olduğumu söylemek istiyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum davetiniz için.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Mustafa Kemal.
Ben de çok teşekkür ediyorum hem PMI'ya hem Advisors'a hem de ayrı ayrı bütün katılımcılarımıza. Şimdi en başta da söylediğimiz gibi her 1 milyar doların yaklaşık %13'inin çöpe gidiyor olması endüstride ki bu hani Türk inşaat sektörü için de geçerlidir aynı durum. Çok kötü bir olay ya, korkunç bir manzara. Zaten hani yıllar geçtikçe inşaat projelerindeki kar oranları giderek düşmekte. Şimdi onu da değerlendirdiğiniz zaman o çöpe giden %13 aslında belki de bir inşaat projesinin bütün karını götürüyor. Dolayısıyla yani inşaat sektörünün gerçekten bir değişime ihtiyacı var. Daha verimli, daha karlı çalışabileceği, insanların daha mutlu çalışabileceği, daha üretken olabileceği bir değişim yaşamasına kesinlikle ihtiyacı var. PMI-CP sertifikasının da buna gerçekten büyük bir katkı sağlayacağını düşünüyorum. Hem yakın zamanda hem de uzun vadede. Dolayısıyla ama şeyi de arada söylemeyi unuttum. Bizim üniversitelere de ulaşmamız lazım. Türkiye'de biliyorsunuz pek çok teknik üniversite var ve bu üniversitelerin çoğunda da inşaat mühendisliği bölümleri var ve hani inşaat yönetimi işte construction management departmanları var. Dersleri veriliyor. Bizim üniversitelere de ulaşmamız lazım. Sadece inşaat sektöründeki işte özel şirketlere veya işte bakanlıklara vesaire haricinde. Buralardan da insanları gerçekten bu sertifika hakkında yani bilinirliğini, tanınırlığını arttırmamız lazım ki bu sektördeki olması gerektiğini düşündüğümüz değişime ciddi katkı sağlamış olalım hep birlikte. Tekrar teşekkürler.
Great. Thank you very much. Before closing, we have, I see a raising hand from one of our participants, Mithat Güney. Mustafa Erkürdi, can we let Mithat join? Maybe he will be joining and asking some questions or making a comment, if it's possible. Mustafa Erkürdi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just checking the box. We still have no questions raised. So if
we
anyone of
have
you would
a
like to check,
raising hand. Mithat Güney is just raising his hand.
yeah, let me check.
If it is possible, just
Yes, of course. Allowed to talk, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, Mithat, you can talk now.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mithat Bey.
It's me, civil engineer Mithat Güney, PMP certified since 2018. First of all, I want to use this opportunity to say hello to Dr. Mustafa and thanks to him, because while I was decided to be a PMP, I have earned the PMBAC 5 and then reviewed who has been contributed from our country, Turkey, and I saw Dr. Mustafa's name, and I have been proud of him from his side. And actually, Dr. Mustafa, you have been my idol.
Thank you very
to
much.
be a PMP, and Alhamdulillah, I achieved it with above target. And since 6 years, I am PMP certified. So during my study, PMP certification study, I had an idea while I reviewed the questions and situational questions. Of course, there have been from all industries. Most of them have not been interested for me because I have been from construction industry and I am a civil engineer. So my project or my decision was, my idea was to convey these all situational questions to construction industry. I mean to architects and civil engineers, and give training to the new graduated construction industry participations and or the last class students. So while I heard now the PMI-CP, I said that it's a great idea. It's fantastic. It's matching what I was thinking about. So I believe that it will be successful I don't know why I heard the newly, but it's okay. I joined it.
Thank you very much for
Thank
this.
you very much.
So it was the first time it was your idea, we understand. And yes, now we are here to serve for construction industry. Thank you very much for your
And
kindness.
you are welcome. And I want to say that I'm ready to any kind of requirement or necessary. I am here to support and give my 30 years of construction experience, knowledge, and PMP also experience. Thank you very much.
That
Have a
will be
nice
very
evening.
valuable. Thank you very much. And before closing, we will be at ADVISORS Turkey delivering some courses throughout 10 states, including let's close this great webinar conversation with a headline, which I just got it from Ricardo. PMI-CP is not a cost, but an investment. So please, thank you very much. Please be in touch with us, and we are always here for any kind of questions. Let's increase the awareness and let's improve our construction industry.
Last, I'm just sharing the PDU claim code. I'm going to share it also for those who attended with us by email so that everybody can have it and claim their PDUs. Thank you all and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.